Just a quick heads up, you might want to check out the description of this episode. The film deals with some quite sensitive topics, and we do talk about those in our review. This episode was, as ever, brought to you with the support of our backers over at patreon.com/CinemaSwirl. $5 OTP backers get instant access to every episode of Cinema Swirl, our monthly exclusive bonus show where Kevin and I review bad movies. And this month, in fact, right now, we've reviewed The Fanatic, starring John Travolta and directed by none other than Fred Durst. If you want to check that out and you want to check out the other episodes of Cinema Swirl, head on over to patreon.com/CinemaSwirl. Right, let's get swirling.
Cinema Swirl! One cool Kevin. It's episode number 127, coming to you from your favourite podcast with your favourite co-host. It's me, your old pal, Kevin, with his pal, Sam Chaplin.
Hello. Hi.
Hey, how are you today?
I'm good. You know what? You should say that you're one cool Kevin with some pride and some confidence. You are one cool Kevin.
Yeah, and you know what, Sam? I can't wait for the number that comes around that rhymes with Sam, and we'll be belting them out. We'll be belting them out.
Yeah, it's going to be great when that comes around. Yeah, we're heading towards an 8, so we've got Mate coming up, I reckon.
Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
That'll work. Big news in the world of Hollywood cinema. Sam Chaplin's going to see Saturday Night Fever.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Sam, obviously it's not Saturday night right now. It could well be when the lovely listeners are listening.
Could be where you are.
Could be where you are.
It's always Saturday night somewhere, man.
It's always Saturday night somewhere, man. Which means I'm on call all the time.
Yes.
All the time. Any memories that Saturday Night Fever occupies in your grand music-loving head on you?
Well, I think there's white suits.
White suits.
Baggy white suits or flares? Flared suits?
Flares. Okay.
Flares. It's disco. It's got, I assume, it's got the song Night Fever. You know, Night Fever. It's got the dance with the pointing up and down.
Saturday Night Fever.
Yeah. It's Saturday Night Fever, You know, they had to, sneak that syllable in there.
I feel like you and I are very, this is a key activation phrase for us, because as children of the 90s, we grew up with Saturday night, that was embedded into the best of the week in terms of light entertainment. The word Saturday night will be firmly put in place in there. We had the song Saturday Night is at the end of the week, pretty baby. Ooh, and they did they did that, and they did that as well. So
Kevin's convincingly doing the dance there for listeners.
Saturday Night Fever, Sam.
Yeah.
Have you had it?
I've probably had a fever on Saturday night, but I don't think I've had Saturday Night Fever.
No, actually, looking at the spread of the COVID-19 variants in the last 3 years, statistically, those of us who are listening have had fever on a Saturday night.
Yes, and I'm sorry about that.
At some point, it seems.
Kevin, right, so I probably need to touch on you suggesting this to me, because I got a text message from Kevin that just said, and this was on a Saturday night.
I had Saturday Night Fever! What can I say?
Saturday Night Fever. And then brackets, we should review Saturday Night Fever. What spurred you on to suggest Saturday Night Fever for us to review, Kevin?
I don't want to say I was watching Clive Anderson running off the Bee Gees for the 1000th time, but I think actually, genuinely, I was watching Clive Anderson run off the Bee Gees for the 1000th time. You always be Les Tossers to me.
He got him.
Can't believe he dared to show up in Channel 4 studios after that debacle. And I remembered that we had a lot of fun with John Travolta in episodes gone by.
We did.
I'm just trying to think of something that was a genre that we hadn't touched on necessarily. And this is a movie that's been very near and dear my heart long before I contracted any form of Saturday Night Fever.
Now, when you mention genre there, I'm not actually sure what genre of film this is. I know. Look, you mentioned the Bee Gees. You mentioned Clive Anderson. I know that the Bee Gees music is in Saturday Night Fever.
Yes.
That makes sense. That's understood. Do I therefore assume it's a musical?
Is it set in the Isle of Man, for instance?
Well, yeah, there's that. Is it about brothers somehow? Does John Travolta storm off of something?
Is he a tosser?
Right, if you don't know what we're talking about, by the way, and I didn't until Kevin pointed me towards it, just search Clive Anderson Bee Gees and enjoy. It's a lovely video to watch.
Just so for the international listeners, and I consider myself one of them, like a tosser, that's kind of a low tier. Like, if you're calling someone a tosser, that's not like call to arms, is it? That's like a, you tosser, give us another sip of the gra. It's a bloody tosser.
You can tell it rubs the older brother up the wrong way. And he's the whole time he's fuming. The other two, I think, are mostly fine, but I
think he was fuming since they decided to call it Les Tossers, and he didn't like that then, and now it's come back to haunt him on the set of Clive Anderson.
My favourite bit of that, just we'll get to the film in a second, but my favourite bit is when they get up to leave, and it looks like they're kind of doing it as a bit, and you just stay on Clive Anderson's face as he realises, or is maybe being told by producers that they are actually going and we can't stop them now. His face sinks and he does start to panic, and I do enjoy that. Clive.
Obviously, there's been grand inspirations behind the episode.
Yeah.
But you were alluding to what the genre might be.
Well,
if you were to, you've talked about Suits, you've talked extensively about the Bee Gees.
Yeah.
And Clive Anderson's gotten a look in. Noel Edmonds is nowhere to be seen. He's raging. So, like, what if you were to pick some genres, what would they potentially be?
Well, I'm stumped now, because in my head, I picture like a disco dance floor.
Yeah.
I picture the white flared suits. I picture the pointing up and down dancing. I picture the song. I don't actually know what the plot or content or dialogue of the film is or would be. Probably a romance, right? If you're doing dancing and Saturday night,
I mean, we saw Big JT. We've seen him at his best and his worst, folks. We've seen him in Grease and we've seen him in Gotti, This man is, and it's funny, it's one of those things where you have to remind yourself it's the same person. Like Face Off, that was him.
Yes.
Him and Gotti, the same one as Grease.
Yeah.
And this now. So I'm wondering if you're thinking, does that lend itself to a musical performance, perhaps? I mean, he had the pipes on him. He was no Cool Rider, mind. He can do it. He's a triple threat.
Yeah, he's got it. He's got it in him, so it could be that. I think, was this before Grease? Possibly? Maybe? No? Post-Grease? I don't actually know. I don't know anyone else who's in Saturday Night Fever. I can't be pressed to say what happens in Saturday Night Fever.
But you know what? You know music, though, yeah?
I mean, know music, yeah.
I don't want to say anyone who's going to call me a hypocrite again about the music stuff, right? There is a song on Donkey Kong Country 3's original soundtrack that's called Disco Train. All right, so we got that covered. Okay. But the genre disco, what's in there then? What do we know about disco, Mr. Music?
I put it to you, listener, that Mr. I don't have time for music seems very insistent on trying to sneak in music into his film watching. Could one say that he misses music, perhaps? Could one say that?
Musicals.
Does my right honourable friend perhaps miss music and wants to listen to some music?
Mr. Speaker, I know that times are tough, but simply sitting down to listen to hours of music when but a mere line from Les Miserables will suffice for the weak. I can't believe what I see.
Right, disco was cool, and now, man, disco sucks. But I think disco has kind of come back. But it's a 4 on the floor beat. It's,
Don't know what clubs you're going to, mate. We dance when we hear the beat around my way.
I like that sort of humour, actually. That's right up my street. There's that sort of beat. It's quite hard to describe what disco is.
The confrontational humour of the man in the street.
What is disco?
What is it? Come on.
I could describe pop punk to you, but disco's quite hard to. I know what it's. I could identify disco in a lineup.
Give me disco noise. 3, 2, 1.
Ah!
That feels like
I panicked.
I pressed him really hard.
Ah! No, that's not disco. That's maybe too funky. But disco's got some funk in it. Disco's got a funky.
That's the fucking thing. Would you never there now looking at your Zune going, oh, fucking alternative / indie / it's all bullshit. It's all bullshit, isn't it? It's all made up genres, which if you could discuss them long enough, they're all the same as the other genres.
Kevin, I genuinely feel embarrassed because I think in my music tech exam,
you had to do a disco bit?
I think I had to literally describe what disco is, what makes up a disco track. And I can't remember what I put on that little piece of paper.
Players Britain. That's what counts as an O-level in this day and age.
Is disco? Had to listen to Earth, Wind and Fire and then say what is identifiably disco. It's
the 4 elements of disco: Earth, Wind and Fire. And the other one.
Yeah.
Sam, John Travolta. There's disco. Is he going to disco? Is he singing disco music? Is he operating the discotheque? Is he wiping it down when people are falling on the floor because of the slippery beats?
He's it's not fall on the floor beats.
Sorry. Slip and hurt your knee on the floor beats.
That's the one. I think it's a situation where he's kind of the king of the disco. He comes to the late night discotheques to do his dancing. Just as a punter, mind.
Or a punter. Yeah.
But maybe they have dance competitions. They love that in America, don't they? When get on up there and start dancing, and maybe you win a prize.
You're kind of describing like is this going to be like dirty dancing?
Well, that's my only analog really to this. Yeah.
Is disco dirty? Dirty disco dancing?
I think they could. There's dirty disco certainly.
You had the time of your life, mate. Yeah.
Kevin's getting up to walk off set. You're the something is such a good, but he's recalling something that was said about 5 minutes before that.
The quivering retort.
Clive Anderson's like, oh, well, you're tossers now, and then 5 minutes later he's like, you're the tosser, mate. You're the tosser. You're the tosser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I feel like you're going to be up toss end sans paddle. Seeing as you don't know what to expect with this. Will you be laughing? Is it going to be like, hey, disco, sexy, right? Are we going to be having lots of sexy sex? Disco drugs? I mean, how are we going blue? Are we going Snow White? What's going on?
All I can see in my head is the dance floor with the multicolored squares on it, right? I can see that. Yeah. I can see the shiny shoes. I can see the flared what. That's all I've got. It's just him dancing.
You wouldn't think it's weird if I told you that Saturday Night Fever had a huge impact. Like it's referenced. It's one of those things like in The Simpsons where it's referenced more times where you don't realize it than the ways it was overtly referenced.
Does he walk down a street?
He does. And he did the thing.
Okay, so that. He does dancing in a disco and he walks down a street. That doesn't get as much closer to working out what's actually happening. Is he walking to the disco?
That's basically 2 acts you've got there. You're grand. You'll be fine. Do we have a mailbag?
Yeah, we've got a mailbag. Let's head on over.
Head on over to the mailbag.
Mailbag. Got a lot of mail and we're going to read the mail in the mailbag.
Okay, you know what? Disco could only have happened when it did.
Yeah.
Because it's not nice to do the disco voice and see yourself doing it.
Yeah, there's a kind of seediness to it. Yeah.
It's like, I remember watching a video where it's like, hey, everyone, look, it's the voice cast of Hey Arnold. I'm like, awesome. And it's like a big old man being like, I'm a little boy.
Okay. So my best normal voice.
Thank you.
Let's go to the mailbag. Welcome to the mailbag. No, welcome to the mailbag. Sorry.
Awful stuff.
Thank you, as ever, for your questions, queries, comments, and other bits and bobs into cinemaswirl at gmail.com. Sorry, it got me. The disco fever. The Saturday Night Fever got me.
It does. It builds up. Is it the same as disco fever? You'll never know.
No. Correspondence comes in from Patrick, who writes the following. Hello, Sam and Kevin. My lifelong viewing habits are more in line with Kevin in that I have already seen most of the movies you cover. My blind spot has always been movies from the 1950s and earlier. I feel like most of the modern classics start appearing in the late 60s into the 70s, but as I've watched more films from 1930 to 1955 era, I found some absolute bangers. Not just a bunch of old black and white shite. Brackets, apologies for culturally appropriating that pronunciation, but felt like it was important for the rhyme. Patrick writes, are there any very old movies that Kevin thinks Sam absolutely has to see and might appear on Cinema Swirl one day? My recommendation from Patrick is Rashomon. Thanks for all the years of laughs. Patrick from Connecticut, home of the best pizza on earth. I've never heard of Connecticut pizza.
Connecticut-style pizza. They got the base, they got the sauce, they got the cheese. Are there toppings? Yeah.
And then we Connecticut it into slices, and then...
Yay!
Yeah.
Oh, Sam, I'm going down to Connecticut to get a Stamford slice. You want one?
We've talked about dusty old shite in the past.
But like I'm very, very much as Patrick there, where the older I get, the more of the appreciation I have. However, I've not, along that same token, gained... like every elder I know, like an insistence to try and make people see it that way. I genuinely believe, and I think the eras will shift or whatever, but I genuinely believe that you have to kind of, it's like, you know when you have to taste something you don't like 10 times before you realize if you like it? It's kind of like that sometimes with black and white movies. There's almost like an accepted period where you're just not, it's not going to, you have to watch a whole bunch of movies, Sam, and you've done it for this podcast, and let's be honest, it was all awful for you. It was terrible. You had to see all the old, dusty old shit. And I'm not going to lie, every time we've come back to that kind of genre or that era, I've more of an appreciation. I'd love to do the original Lady Killers, for instance.
Okay.
I think that would be very, very good. But I'm not sure if I'm as confident about some of the older ones. Like, I've seen Gone with the Wind, but it's 1,000,000 years old, and I think it's racist now and some sort of a cultural war flashpoint.
Well, yeah, you've got that going on as well. You've got,
there's a lot of balls to juggle there. And imagine having a lot of balls to juggle knowing that your first 10 times juggling is going to be really not fun.
And you can't even see what colours the different balls are because it's all in fucking old black and white.
And there's a bunch of clowns going, you will like it.
Look, I'm up for some old black and white dusty old shit. We do laugh, we do mock, but I do imagine there are some real bangers in there.
Unquestionably so, yes.
But you are in the early days of a medium before it's maybe hit its absolute stride.
Oh, but there's something about that. It's like, I know, I feel the same way with these movies I feel about wrestling, where it's kind of like, I will accept someone watching it and making fun of it, knowing that it will hopefully get its hooks in its own unique ways. Yeah. And then before you know it, you're watching it making fun of it in good faith as opposed to bad.
I'm up for it. I'm interested.
I think it's worth venturing back into the past.
So thank you, Patrick. We'll look into it. Look into some dusty old shit. It's not all shit.
Look how happy you've made him. Look how happy you've made him. Yeah, no, we'll do that. Yeah, no.
Okay.
Yeah, no. With the enthusiasm of an additional chore that's been bootstrapped to your already long list.
It feels like an obligation. Like, well, we
good. It should.
In fairness, we have to go back.
We do
because we should, because it's right to look at the old stuff.
It is.
I like new stuff. I just want to watch TikToks, all right? That's all I want.
You have to watch Casablanca 2 more times before you can watch another TikTok.
Okay, fine. All right, that's it for the mailbag. No more mail. No more mail.
Yeah. No more bag. Except there is one bag I've got, because I'm talking like a cool disco man. Dig this crazy bag, baby. You're going to watch Saturday Night Fever, and you're not even going to do it on the correct day. Let's go do a Saturday Night Fever Cinema Swirl! Sam, initial gut reaction to Saturday Night Fever.
This is the most direct I've been in one of my initial gut reactions for a long time.
Oh, no.
And it's the following.
Where's the noises gone?
No. We're not doing funny disco voice. Here we go. Well, look, the music and the dancing was nice. And that's my initial gut reaction.
But Sam...
Why did you not enjoy the rest of the film?
I mean, is it like... I'm sorry, I will stop you.
Yep.
All right, I will admit something. I was 4/5 of the way through this movie when Sam sent me the following text message. We love the text.
Yeah, let's go to the texts. Yeah.
That film is more problematic than I'd anticipated, and followed by the emoji that could best describe as the emoji that most looks like Sam without his glasses.
Yes.
Going. So,
yeah.
When that occurred to me, I was like, wait a minute, what's... Because there had been, admittedly at that point, quite a few more slurs than I had remembered.
Yeah.
From my... And then it all came flooding back to me. There's 2 versions of this movie, so there is.
Oh,
and
no.
There's a PG version.
Yeah.
And there's a rated R 18s version.
Okay.
And I think the more recent times I had seen the movie, I had seen perhaps the PG version. But absolutely, and content/spoiler/trigger warning,
yes,
there is a gang rape scene at the end of this. Boy, did it come flooding back, and I might as well address the early doors because we were shown this movie in school by a teacher, and we didn't get shown the PG version. We got the R-rated version.
Right.
So I think I'd originally seen this version, which, just to reiterate, we have both now seen the R-rated. The naughty one is the one we've seen. But I had...
Well, I assume I have, Jesus Christ.
The middle viewings throughout my 20s and 30s, those seem to have been a cleaned up version because I didn't quite remember it being quite as full on. Like, a couple of days ago, Sam was like, "Oh, should we do like a David Lynch one?" Because he passed away, and I was like, I don't know if I want to do kind of memoriam podcast thing or whatever.
Sure, makes sense.
And last time we did David Lynch, he got a bit uncomfortable, because he deals with topics of sexual assault and whatnot, quite constantly throughout a lot of his work. And boy, did I think Saturday Night Fever would be just that. Hey, Saturday Night Fever. There's a bit of that in it.
Yeah, I thought this would be John Travolta's Funny Trousers, the movie, and it...
The wrong trousers is what's happened there now.
Yeah,
Now,
how do we proceed?
That's not to say that's what the whole movie is.
No.
But unpacking the initial gut reaction is what I like to call phase 2 of a Cinema Swirl episode.
Yes.
And we've done it now.
And look, movies can handle sensitive topics and deal with really upsetting things and use language that is not okay and still be good movies. But I think the kind of emotional whiplash of thinking this was going to be a bit of fun.
Because I found no fewer than 4 Reddit threads where someone was like, it was during the lockdown and my dad wanted to watch a movie that he kept telling us all was great, and he put on Saturday Night Fever, and I quote, for a bit of a laugh. And then at the end, everyone's like mad uncomfortable because dad's made you all watch some pretty shocking stuff towards the final bit there.
Yes. I mean, look, we're into the YouTube era of Cinema Swirl, and I think we're going to have to say a couple of things that would get our channel, which is not monetized, demonetized should it be monetized. We're going to have to...
we're working on getting it remonetized. Demonetized is not how I want to be coming out of this meeting, Sam. Hang on a second.
We're going to have to say some words that will not help with that. And look... there'll be plenty of content warnings all over the description of this one.
And a lot of people see them and go, what? Saturday Night Fever?
Yeah.
The dance movie?
So, it's an interesting discussion because I came into this not knowing much about this and having absorbed my little bits from pop culture.
Yes, and it was not, in fact, a musical.
Not the whole film.
No, it was not, in fact, a musical experience, really. I mean, there was a lot of music in it.
I would argue there are musical experiences in it, but it's not a musical film.
I'll tell you what there are, Sam. They're numbers.
There are numbers, and we're numbers guys.
We're numbers guys.
Yay,
what do you think? It's a consistent theme throughout 2025.
Okay, look, let's not be too doom and gloom.
We open in Brooklyn.
Yes.
Brooklyn, I hardly knew Lynn. Yeah, we can have fun. See, we can still
we'll
have
have
fun.
laugh.
We can still have a bit of How's Your Father. There's nothing wrong here, you know. Staying Alive, the opening number here, Sam. And let me tell you, the mid-90s dance remix of Staying Alive, with the rap bit put in and all that the FBI used to come out to in ECW, that was one of those songs that when it came out, I made me one of those kids that adults would be like, look at him, he's dancing there now, and I'd be doing Staying Alive and all that. Oh, it's burnt into me soul, so it is.
It's a banger, it's a bop, and it's a tune. It's a look. As I said in my initial gut reaction, the music here is great, and maybe I haven't appreciated the Bee Gees enough. I've appreciated them more than Clive Anderson did on TV.
This feels like this episode's going to become an intervention with Clive Anderson being like, and have you not been to the Isle of Man? Do you not appreciate the genetic, unique situation that brought us the Manx cat? Fine, I guess, to each their own, I suppose.
Yeah.
I think that Staying Alive, while it is no doubt a toe-tapping, ambulating anthem, there's a central problem I have with the thesis of the song, Sam, which is, if I'm a woman's man, I got that way because I've got plenty of time to talk.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. The communication is key. Now, look.
It is. You should talk. So, if you want to be a ladies' man or man's woman, gentleman's woman,
if you want to be a person's person, you need to start chatting. I've always said
it's all
that.
well and good for those of us walking down the street with a tin of paint. That's a non-verbal commitment. But in the business of being a ladies' man, and by all means, Sam, we're very much in the business.
Yes.
You have time to talk.
Yes. I've always said a can of paint is worth 1,000 words, and in a way, he's kind of communicating something very strongly there.
Sam, you and I saw the Earth. We'd much rather a can of paint than a canapé, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Proper lads just hanging around.
Top of my list, can of Pepsi, of course, is the thing I'd reach for.
Well, I know they do sell it in the big can like that now that you have to jimmy open with a screwdriver.
Oh. If it was the consistency of paint, I would still enjoy it. Look, we do start off strong, and I'm like, look, Staying Alive is a banger. The title font is good. This scene, the feet walking down the street, John Travolta shoving 2 fat slices of pizza in his mouth and having a little bit of tomato on his lip.
2-slice Tony, we call him. That's fucking incredible. Did you ever stack up like that?
No.
I'll do damage to pizza. I plan on doing some very shortly. But one slice on top of the other.
That's it's a life hack calzone, I suppose, isn't it? You kind of...
It's a single bite and then the fold.
Yes.
People who fold and then you've got this vestigial pizza limb. A single bite, then the fold, then you're in business.
Yes, I agree with you. And look, this is all, we're having fun. And then I was like, oh, John Travolta's character Tony, he's kind of pursuing a woman in the street. He kind of turns around, follows her, and then kind of stops her from walking the way she's going. It's like, oh, that's a bit iffy, but
but it's like the meme though, isn't it? Where it's himself and you're one.
Yes,
and
yeah.
He looks over and it says meme, and the other one there, it's other memes.
Other meme, yeah.
And the ladies on TikTok.
And I thought, look, okay, but we're staying alive, we're having a good time, it'll all be okay, it'll all work out. That's going to be the one bit where I'm like, oh, well, back then.
But it is back then.
It is, but hey, it is.
Look, and as well, you can't be like, oh, we're glorifying the way it was back then now, because this was talking about back then. And it was back then.
This was a back then to a back then. Yeah.
That's what it was. It is. It's set in the 70s. It was made in the 70s.
Yes. So then right.
But what that's the movie's fault that men were, and are mostly are like that still.
Yeah, sorry. Okay, it explains something about his character.
It's not the noblest endeavour spinning around with a can of paint in your hand.
No.
Fucking pizza sauce all over your mouth, gawping at someone's arse.
He works at a paint shop, and I've realised, right, when he goes in there, and the conversations he's having with customers and stuff about...
Hey, it's a special paint, I give you $1 off, give it a... Hey, it's my ass or this paint. You know, there's a lot of hand gesture based talk here in Brooklyn.
I've got an important question for you. This is a cultural question, and you might not be best placed to answer it. But what is the American equivalent of a cheeky chappie? Because I think that's what he is, but I don't know what that is.
I feel other Italian Americans would call him a paisan. You know, but I feel like I'm not allowed.
You're not saying that, but
I can't be my paisan.
He's got a cheekiness to him, a rogue. I was going to say rogue-like, but that's not...
In Ireland, we would absolutely refer to him as your man.
Yes, yeah. Your man, Tony... For
the eyebrows are part of that. Your man.
Yeah, yes.
Or, best case scenario, your man there. You get like a further qualifier. Look in the direction of the eyebrows. Where are they pointing? Very important.
And hey, we've got a working man working up the money to buy a nice blue shirt in the shop.
Look, Sam, he's putting money down on the shirt.
That's good, isn't it?
When's the last time you put money down on something like that? Because I feel the last time I did that was in 2013 when I went into pre-order WWE 13. And then I came in on the day and they were like, sorry, why did you expect you'd have it today?
Did you put money down?
I put £5 down because I wanted to pre-order convicted, I can't say that word on YouTube, Mike Tyson to be available in the game.
Well, look, Kevin, we'll say some words.
We're going to be saying some words.
Yeah, we'll say some words. I can't remember the last time I put a deposit down.
Have you had an underwhelming glass of mulled wine at a mid-sized Christmas market in the United Kingdom or Ireland? You put money down there, put the deposit on the glass.
But to have booked a table at a restaurant for more than 10 people. So that would have been the time.
They'll take a...
But then it comes off the bill at the end, of course, and you're like,
we're okay, we're back.
It's not
fine.
Free money. It's not free money because you have paid for it, but at the end it feels like, yay.
I do like the ones where you do a restaurant booking and then they'll send you the thing saying, now, we have the information... And if you don't come, it'll be £10.
Yes, we've got your details.
And you go, £10, that's way less than I'll probably spend at the restaurant. I go, yes, but you won't get to eat anything. Oh.
We have access to your account.
Let's be having you so then, in that case.
Now, I was looking at John Travolta's face, and I was thinking, he has got such an interesting face. He is handsome, but he's also kind of...
No, but he's not gaudy handsome here, Sam, is he?
No.
Like, he hasn't got the character in his face, the surgically inserted character into his face.
What murder? He's got just a...
Come on!
I miss when leading men had sort of slightly weird looking faces, and he's got some characters.
We've got a few freaks knocking around.
Yeah, no, but then they're the freaks.
Sam, put a tunic on Timothy Chalamet. The man's a goblin, like in the highest possible order of a compliment that is. But like, it's peak weirdo right now, as far as I'm concerned.
And look, we get a lot of time to look at him doing his hair in his little pants. You know,
he likes Rocky. He likes Wonder Woman. He likes Bruce Lee. Sam, he is a man of taste.
Yes. And I think this film likes Rocky as well, because you can kind of see that.
In what way would you say? Is it, it's kind of like, hey, here's the rough and tumble of life in an Italian-American neck of the woods type of a thing?
Yeah, and it's sometimes grimmer than you think it would be. But I feel like Rocky...
It's not quite as grim as Rocky, but in that... I think the actual reality of their life is probably more grim than Rocky, but whereas Rocky, it's like, they make Philadelphia look like a fucking bomb hit. Like they properly... Like, Philadelphia in Rocky 1 is like... a desolate, bleak, borderline post-apocalyptic place where there happens to be some boxing going on.
I think that was just the closest kind of analog I could think of in terms of what this movie kind of feels like it's trying to do.
There's times people want to say something to one another and then a loud train goes overhead and you go, this is annoying, isn't it?
He's got a tense family life. His brothers are priests, so... What?
He's Catholic. This Tense Family Life is fucking incredible, man.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable. Where he's like, I don't want to eat. He's like, why? Because I'm going to get sauce all over my new shirt. Your mother's sauce don't drip. I told you 1,000 times.
Don't drip. He's wrapped in a little blanket to protect his shirt, which is quite nice.
Like and he sat on some tea towels as well. He's going to have his hair cut afterwards. I was trying to think like.
Sorry, that's such a specific thing.
Your mother's sauce don't drip is like. I think if you put enough sass on certain or inflection on certain words there, that could seem like a very rude statement.
Oh yeah,
altogether.
yeah.
Well, not to think about it, though. I want my sauce to cling to the pasta. That's not a bad thing necessarily.
No, that's a good thing. Yeah.
A drippy sauce.
But he's like, but it don't taste. It don't drip, but it don't taste. His brother's a priest, so obviously he's going to feel like he's the black sheep of the family.
Everyone kind of feels inadequate, as is expressed by the rarely seen cycle of abuse, literally in front of you as a circle of one person hitting someone else who then hits someone else.
Yeah.
And then, like, this is like after we have a full table of everyone hitting everyone. Like,
Yes.
man hits wife, wife hits man, mother hits son, brother hits sister, all that. And then the dad's like, it's not fair, I'm out of work and you hit me. It used to be that I did all the hitting and now you hit me. And it was like, oh, dad's not getting his licks in anymore. Like, the worst thing about your situation isn't the ratio of who's getting, like, we're not going on points here, Dad.
No.
There's no final score at the end of round 3 here.
It's a very uncomfortable family situation. But Tony's obviously, he's worried about his hair, he's worried about his shirt, he just cares about going to the club.
Now, did you view him as like kind of a likable figure at this point? He's got a bit of the himbo energy like Rocky does. He just cares about his hair and his shirt and his, his very, very meager existence.
Yes, to an extent. But again, there is stuff later on where I'm like...
and obviously I've heard the young man's story from Brooklyn, and obviously the gentleman has very much a tale to tell that we've all heard, but in light of the upcoming allegations, I would demur on saying that I thought he looked like a silly boy, and with his hair and wide trousers.
Yes. So I don't want to be like, yeah, what a lovely lad. And
he
knowing
endorsed
what's coming
him
up.
now, did he?
No.
Wow.
Well, it's probably
Sam Chaplin fawns over perverts' trousers. Podcast cancelled, literally.
we meet his gang of friends.
They are the absolute definition of a bunch of townies and a bust-up lemon.
Yes, they're swigging vodka, popping all sorts of drugs in the car.
Oh, let go. That's my pussy finger. Just one, John?
Just the one.
Okay.
Yeah.
No time to talk. I'm busy using my one finger.
We've got no time to talk because he's using all the other fingers for other stuff.
His hand gestures, Sam. His hand gestures.
And then as they're heading into the club is called 2001 Odyssey.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, I did like that. What I didn't like was how, what's the best way to describe this? Like full racist his friends are quickly saying some of the really bad stuff there.
So, okay, they speak freely and
Yes.
with full throttle behind them slurs throughout. But again, like, I'm just interested as from the movie watching perspective.
Yeah.
'Cause, like, I saw this bit and I was like, well, that's kind of like these aren't meant to be nice people.
No, I know. And this is the thing that we run into with films like this.
Is kind of the movie's kind of jag in some sense.
Yes.
Is that you've got these guys who are knocking around, and when you're light on opportunities and things to do, often the racist playbook comes out. But I don't think the movie gets as deep as that necessarily. But
No, so it I would kind of understand this a bit more if later on it did more to pay that off in some way. And it maybe sort of tries to a little bit.
Yeah, it does a little bit, yeah. But I think, like, the
Hmm.
movie at least is kind of more concerned with being authentic to how these people would speak than to the sensibilities, I guess.
Sure.
But it is, like, boy, it's fast and proper. Like, like, it happens in The Sopranos with a lot of the crews or whatever, but it's kind of always in that, like, oh, they're a bad person, and they say it. It's so, like, just casually woven in here, and that maybe is the shocking element of it, that it's not done as like he's doing it and he's bad for this exact reason. It's just, that's how they talk.
This is the lads.
It's speaking slurs a lot of the time, these fellas.
You've got to remember how much I was just expecting John Travolta's Silly Trousers, the movie. That's what I was looking for. And I was like, oh, okay, right. That's where we are. Positives, right? The dance floor, the 2001 Odyssey club, and the dance floor.
And this club, Sam, by the way, table service, picnic blankets, it ain't any club I've ever been to.
No, but it's exactly what I imagined or have seen before or have seen parodies of or kind of references to. The kind of multicoloured squares on the dance floor, the kind of fuzzy, faded... yes.
Burp, baby, burp, 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 baby, burp. Let you live. Great. I tell you what, the Bee Gees get a lot of the love here, but there's an ensemble of great disco here.
Some cracking stuff. Tony loves dancing. He goes there. He dances. The ladies love Tony.
The ladies love the dancing man, and he lets his dancing do the talking. How do you reckon to the few steps on him there now? How do you think he did there?
Travolta can fucking dance.
Can he?
Yeah. It's again, I must stress, and there's a big sequence later on. The dancing in combination with the music is filmed beautifully and looks good, and the performance of that is great. I think I would have enjoyed this more had it just been flat out a man dancing in a discotheque with some tunes.
Joe said that she could watch 4.5 hours in the background of a compilation of just him dancing along to various disco songs, because it's a very, very effortlessly beautiful thing to look at and whatnot. Hey, if you don't like disco, it's probably not for you, I would imagine.
But I think Joe's onto something there. There is a kind of screensaver-like quality to it.
Yes.
that's really
there's something procedurally generated about the man's hip movements there. Yes. It's undeniable, And then he got on that flying toaster. Oh, Mahon.
I wrote in my notes at this point, this film doesn't feel nice. These boys are quite mean.
They're horrible. They treat themselves and the women around them very, very poorly.
Yes.
You can see, even though it's all of them going to dance, Tony's off dancing. The rest of them are literally, trying to decide if they're going to do speed or coke or whatever it may be. So, you are seeing the kind of the cycles that the young men kind of are falling into or whatever it is from the lack of opportunity. I wonder, in some respects, if the backdrop of the 1970s in New York and Brooklyn and whatnot, when maybe it was more mainstream national news that area was suffering quite a lot of the kind of poor neighborhoods in particular. So maybe a lot of this was more immediately recognizable in the 70s as being, this is how it is, as opposed to us expecting disco adventures the 70s, while I imagine the hairstyles will be crazy. It's more of a, wow, I thought it was just Vietnam was the only bad thing that happened in the 70s.
But no, there they all are, shagging in the car, and Tony's looking in, and it's all... so this is when I transitioned into sometimes thinking of this as a mood piece, rather than a movie.
What do you mean by a mood piece?
A mood piece.
What the fuck does that mean?
When you go in expecting something and you get something very different, and it's just kind of... I don't know what I meant by a mood piece, but something at this point hit me, and I'm like, is this just... We're getting the feeling, as you say, of that area of Brooklyn at that time, and it's just presenting to us quite a realistic portrait, I think, of that.
Are you saying that you'd rather be back in the club watching the dancing as opposed to the men having sex in the car?
Well, yes, but I think, one provides context for the other.
Hey, on the music token though, did you like how they approach the sanctity of disco? That when the salsa music comes on, the dance floor clears, and everyone's like, "That's not real music." No. If you're not putting on something proper in Sugar Cubes in Lincoln, I simply won't go to the dance floor.
Okay, here we go. Right. We're coming back. Yeah,
lads, they're playing one of the Monday Night Raw themes for the bad days. Yeah, let's go.
Come on.
Let's go. Going out tonight here at I guess they recognize it.
So there we go. We get a little bit of like, hey, this is the life that he lives. He works during the day. He goes to the club at night. He dances. There's drugs. There's booze. There's shagging. They're young.
Everybody's living for the weekend.
Yeah.
And also as well, he has a very high standard because we meet, I think it's Annette, and she's like,
yes.
She's very good at dancing, and the two of them they have a very good dancing chemistry.
Yes.
But like he has zero interest in her whatsoever romantically or even as a friend.
Yeah.
But like recognizes that if he wants to achieve excellence in this world, she's his best ticket. So they're going to practice for the big dance contest. And it's funny how like small stakes it is when all the incidental stuff around them being kind of listless townies crashes around them. It's double prize money, folks. $500.
Well, you know, adjusted for inflation.
You could put so much money down on so many different shirts. There's like 100 shirts you could put money down for.
I think maybe watching this the first time I was so... I mean, I've not watched it again, but I mean, like, when I watched this, I was so sort of taken aback. And now, as we're talking through this, I'm starting to glean the theme.
Were you like this going, Jesus?
Yeah.
Were you like mouth agape? The fuck is this?
But now I'm like, oh, this quite low stakes thing takes on this kind of glamorous,
meaning and significance,
huge meaning when everything around them is kind of chaos and falling apart and sad. That disco can become such an important thing, and music and that community to young people.
Did you like how he got misconstrued for Al Pacino by a lady on the dance floor? Yes. I don't see the similarity personally myself. Like.
No.
Did you also notice so well how like disco has almost a line dancing effect to it, or they're all kind of in one sequence go.
Again, there's a nice,
grace,
enjoyable, satisfying synchronicity to it. That's just nice to watch. It's pleasant to watch. Not satisfied with being racist, Tony's mates are also homophobic. We get a little bit of that as well.
A little bit of that, and I love as well how. Like, this was a very relatable thing, because I saw a lot of this, obviously, in schooling. Quite a bit being an all-boys school, where boys would think something's wrong with you if you don't want to join in on the homophobia.
Yes.
Like, that was very often like oh, no, hey, what's wrong? Because we were just making fun of him for being gay, or, like, doing something that was deemed to be gay. Like, I don't know, like... washing your hands or something like that, you know.
Talking.
Yeah, like, and also as well, I don't know if the younger generations will ever truly understand the depths to which the word gay was a synonym for bad.
Oh, yeah.
When we were teens. But this kind of like, hey, we're all having fun being homophobic. What's the matter, Tony? Tony, you used to love doing this. You used to love the gay bash. What's going on?
Oh.
Your mother's very worried about you, Tony. You used to make fun of the gays all the time. Now you hardly do it anymore. You don't even laugh when me and the boys do it.
Oh, we get more of Tony's bad relationship with his dad. His dad's just like jealous or kind of resentful and is not proud of him.
The man talked himself into a $4 raise, Sam. I'm jealous. Come on.
That's good work.
That's very good stuff indeed.
So, we're preparing for this dance contest with Annette, the girl who he doesn't really, as he said, like, but he knows that she's good.
Do you remember why he didn't like her?
You're not my dream girl or nothing, he says at one point.
He didn't like the wasn't her dream girl, and they did go on a date one time, and the whole time she just talked about how her sisters were married.
Yeah.
So he got intimidated. You know, I don't want to be no married sister. Oh, hey. And like, there's equal parts about him that is kind of like charming or whatever, because he is kind of deer in the headlights. He is a gobshite, but he knows enough. Like, he's like Rocky in that he knows he has enough self-awareness to know that he should want better for himself than what he's probably liable to get or what people expect of him themselves. Yes. But also he is just a crude, inarticulate gobshite. Again, quite like Rocky, which is why you get gems like, hey, what are you? You a nice girl? You a cunt?
Those are the two. I see two options.
You wouldn't be saying that to no pink lady in Greece. You wash your fucking mouth out now, man.
Yes.
Yeah, come on.
He's going for dance rehearsals with her and immediately gets distracted by another girl
Yes, the girl who's definitely not doing disco and doing ballet, and ballet would not invite disco to the lake house for supper under any circumstances.
And it's the classic thing of if you approach a woman and ask her for something and she quite clearly says no, what you need to do then is just be persistent and keep asking? Question mark?
Stick-to-itiveness,
yeah,
Sam.
And they
that's
love
funny.
that.
I thought you had no time to talk, and when it comes to this lady, you can't fucking shut up, can you? God, hours in the day suddenly whittle away. So, turns out that priest brother his ain't cut out for be no man of the cloth. It ain't no going to no seminary. And he's back, and the family's heart is broken. He ain't a priest no more. And you want to talk about someone who does look like Al Pacino? The brother here. Yeah. Striking resemblance to when Al plays younger Michael in Godfather 1.
Very much so. So, essentially we get what's going on here. Like, it's to sort of say you don't have someone on a pedestal anymore. We're all just in the shit and, like, you know.
And the brother says he'd quit because the only thing that he actually had going for him in the priesthood was his parents' idea and pride of him being a priest. So again, it's a little bit about self-worth and whatnot.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie, there is something about the brother where he looks like a guy who'd be revealed to be like a fucking, I don't know, a cannibal or a paedophile in the final act of something.
Yeah.
He has the suspiciously kind eyes. And the fact that he is just like, there's nothing to it. He's just like, he's there. He cares for his brother and he gives him a perspective that other people don't get. But just because he has that, like,
well,
he just, I'd exercise caution.
Yes, but he's handy as a kind of connection to Catholicism for some of these characters later down the line.
I appreciate it, Sam. Always appreciate it, you know? That's why I like to have a lot of red wine and bread in the house.
He manages to bag himself a date with the new girl, Stephanie, and she's all showing off about all these stars that she knows.
I mean, he got the moves on her, Sam. Oh, we got the same last initial. How about that, huh?
Yeah, there you go.
Hey.
You got to grasp at something in those situations. You know, that.
Never thought to use that, like.
No, yeah.
Here's the thing. If you're someone with a muck, do you consider your second initial to be M or whatever comes after that? Or is it MC and then what comes after that? Because I don't think you want to be with the rest of us M's like fucking muck savages scrambling around in the dirt.
I've never thought about it, but I would, if I was guessing, just pop it down as an M.
Because I think if you're at the point in your monogramming things, you got to be very particular and sure of these things.
But
you want to leave it open to interpretation, right?
No, but I think like a M, capital M, little c, and then and then big initial of the thing that comes after the muck.
Like if Ronald McDonald killed someone,
Armuck D.
Yeah, and with obviously a monogrammed handkerchief that he put kind of a poison on, and we found it at the crime. It ain't going to say or M, is it? It's going to be or McD.
Yes, yeah, you're right. I think that's where we go with that.
Reggie McDonough, I knew it. Lock him up, boys.
Stephanie's going on about, look, I know Eric Clapton and other people who I've forgotten now, but she's, you know...
David Bowie, Eric Clapton.
Yes. David Bowie.
Laurence Olivier.
Yeah.
And I envy the simplistic verbiage of the times in the 1970s where someone could list off a bunch of references you don't get and you can go, far out, man, and no one can even tell you're being passive-aggressive. It's like, great. And if someone confronts you about, what do you mean far out? And I go, look, I got to keep on trucking, so I'll leave you to it.
Look, if you were spewing off the names of some current pop superstars, Kevin, what I would be thinking is that I just want to be having a can of Pepsi Max with my mates. I don't care about celebrities because I'm grounded.
Grounded. And you would much rather I list off a big long list of mates instead.
Yeah. McD, you know, all the guys.
And it's one of the reasons why I've not befriended any celebrities out of respect to Sam.
Yes, thank you, and I appreciate that. I know...
Despite Mike Wozniak and I having what some would call immediate banter.
Yes, but I appreciate you refusing...
Put up the shield, Sam. Sorry, Mike.
No.
No. I'll leave it there. Go with Greg. He's your friend.
Oh, he could have been a couple of strong facial haired lads, just having great chats, you know, about that. and funny guys. Right. Tony's mate, one of his little mates, has been beaten up and they think it's by a Puerto Rican gang.
Yes, it feels like the Warriors like invaded this movie because when you guys all dress up like, the Disco Boys or whatever it is, and then the Barracudas got Gus.
I love that their hideout.
That's the word Barracudas written on it. Yeah.
Barracuda hideout.
Yeah. I've written the name of all the podcasts on the door to the office here, Sam.
I would get confused if they didn't do that, and I appreciate that from a filmmaking perspective. Just pop the name of where we are on the thing, and I will understand it.
And now some of these gangs won't even tell the police where they're based, and it's honestly shocking that it's gotten to that point now. It's crazy, the lack of communication.
They try and get their hideouts removed from Google Maps. It's pathetic.
And they're like,
really.
No. Wait, Danny, you're not meant to fucking check in on Foursquare. I told you. No, I don't care about being the mayor. It's about gang safety. All right.
Oh, so many references to Foursquare in recent episodes. I think you miss it.
I think that what it is, Sam, is I'm trying to do a GameStop, get meme stock going on Foursquare.
Okay. Yeah.
And then I will be cast in an Amazon movie. Or no, someone will be cast as me in an Amazon movie.
Yeah. You can play yourself.
Here's hoping.
Yeah.
Paul Dano played himself. He was the one who did GameStop. That was him.
That was his thing.
And he blew up the seawall. That was a shoot. Tony seems somewhat hesitant to jump headfirst into the gang war that the boys are like really egging on.
Yeah.
And there are certain warning signs which you need to look out for. And as I, who was briefly a school teacher in the United Kingdom, had to do prevent training many times to identify troubling behaviours in students. And this wasn't on the list, but I would have put it on there, which is if they turn the lighter all the way up to the max and turn it on and then stare into it longingly, that's a warning sign.
Yes. That's something you need to prevent.
And they said, Kevin, this is about terrorism. It's not about fires. I'm like, Fire is the original terrorist.
Yeah.
I've been saying it for years.
Why is no one listening to me on this?
No one's going to get around the table with a pile of flaming embers. God damn it, you can't negotiate.
Yeah, Tony's a bit like, but that seems to be his whole thing. Is like his mates are doing dodgy shit, and he sort of does a bit of a
dancing. Yeah.
He does a bit of a sad look, and
if, for instance, they wanted to like take on the Barracudas in a dance contest, Tony be front and center.
Yeah, and I'd be front and center to watch that
because you get fucking creamed by those burritos. Let me tell you.
So he has to reject Annette for the dance contest. He's a real fucking jerk about it.
It's kind of like, it's no big deal. I find a girl who's better than you and I like her more. So,
simple. He walks Stephanie home. This happens a couple of times, and she won't let him take her all the way back home.
Yeah, this is very much, again, back into the Rocky world of, like, what constituted romance in a 70s movie that wasn't just for, like, female audiences or whatever.
Yeah.
Because I feel like him and Stephanie have, like, zero chemistry whatsoever. Anytime they're together, it feels really tense.
Yeah.
He's always pushing towards her. She's always pushing away.
Yes.
And it also kind of goes both ways with it because she's constantly lying to him and big-leaguing him and kind of trying to, make out that she's something that she's not. And he's like... They don't seem good for each other.
No.
But because it's two people drawn together who might be able to go and do something, it's viewed as being the most romantic thing in the world. And that is older movies, I guess.
And they ignore the lack of chemistry. Whereas with Annette, I mean, they kind of had a bit of banter between them and the kind of fieriness that was... that was
Would you not marry Annette, you
Come
big
on.
idiot?
She's been talking enough about her married sisters.
I mean, I will say, though, once Stephanie and Tony start dancing, wouldn't you know it, the kids are naturals.
Okay, so this is the best bit of the movie by a considerable stretch. the being in the club.
You're the toss of me.
I would stay, but I don't do impressions.
Oh no, they left. Oh well, that's Clive Anderson.
We're in the club, right? We're in 2001 Odyssey. Stop thinking of other lines from the Clive Anderson thing and wanting to do them in the high-pitched voice. Stop it. Not allowed. We're in the club, right? And there's dancing. And there's music. And John Travolta's dancing is incredible.
Oh, it is amazing.
The filming of the sequence, wonderful. Looks fucking $1 million. Looks great. It's undeniably just good, this bit. I don't think there's much arguing with this as a thing to watch. I think
the choreography is like, I don't know, because it's not just like, say, in Dirty Dancing, where it's like, here's a big set piece and everyone sees it.
Yeah.
They capture the feeling of them dancing amongst people and whatnot as well, which is almost as potent. The brother comes to the club, and I don't think you can remove the air out of a room quite as much as bringing an ex-priest into a Catholic setting.
Yes.
Ireland, Brooklyn, south of Italy, wherever it is, the result is the same. Some people feel awkward, and other people feel the need to either confess or pray for their holy soul or whatever it may be.
Well, yes, we get one of Tony's mates, this guy Bobby, I think.
Bobby, yeah, little boy Bobby, he's the guy who's with the car. It's very obvious he's only with them because he has the car, and he's very much the bottom of the pecking order.
Yes, if you see a lineup at a comedy night, and there's one who's noticeably worse than the others,
he's got a car.
That's the one with the car. He's driving the comedians.
Funnily enough, because most comedy places would much rather play for someone's petrol than any of the comedy that they put on. They generally end up being some of the best paid people.
Oh, yeah.
You know, there's people that Sam and I know, and they weren't great comedians, but they were amazing short-haul drivers, and they have made a career out of that, and more power to them. Like,
and if they can maximise that miles per gallon, they're into a tidy profit. So, you know. Bobby, the driver, is speaking to Father Frank, ex-father, former father? What do you call an ex-priest? An ex-priest. He's speaking to Frank. And basically saying, look, I've got my girlfriend pregnant. Do you think you can put in a word with the Pope?
Yeah, because I heard the Pope has got special dispensation, for certain circumstances. So do you think the Pope could give my girlfriend an abortion? What do you think, Father?
I mean, he does phrase this, do you think the Pope could give my girlfriend an abortion? Which is, that's a lot of responsibility for the Pope.
My very controversial but, unnecessary opinion, I guess.
Here we go.
No, I think people like him, when he says things like, can the Pope give my girlfriend an abortion?
Yes.
I don't think he knows what actually happens in an abortion.
No.
I think a lot of people don't necessarily know. And they don't have the benefit of an ex-priest to let them know that popes don't do that sort of thing.
Well, especially if you imagine that, he's a very young lad and he's raised Catholic, they're probably not going to want to talk to him much about what an abortion actually is and what goes into that.
Brooklyn barely had 3G in 1978. So, how's he getting online?
That's why they're all going to the disco and dancing. They're bored.
Yeah.
They're not got anything to look at on their phones.
All they have is Street Pass. There's nothing else. That's the only contact that they have with each other.
And Frank, who's really having to pull himself away from just watching the dancing, is like, no, Bobby, that's not. I'm sorry, Bobby, but no.
He's one of the few people who gets drawn in, sees the dancing, and can see beyond the party and the drugs and all that stuff, and he's like, I'm leaving, but just so you know, Tony, this is it. You fucking you're spectacular. You should do loads of dancing.
This is great. I've served my purpose in the film. See you later, everyone.
Anyway, I'm off to find something to fill the God-shaped hole in my life.
He's going to a different town to start dancing because he knows he won't be as good as Tony. But he's like, I'm going to take this, do it somewhere less good.
Franchising.
Yeah.
That's very, very smart. So Tony ends up having sex with Annette on this night because Stephanie is nowhere to be seen.
Yep.
So Annette is just kind of feels this obligation almost, it feels like, that they have to one another. And boy, oh boy, borderline Alan Partridge, bad levels of pillow talk here. He's not asking about the pedestrianisation of Norwich City Centre, but asking if someone is fixed or has the IOU. That's a pre-insertion question. Come on now. Come on.
very awkward and uncomfortable, and it's just a kind of there's a sad grimness to this.
It's so fucking grim because
Yeah.
you see him earlier on in the movie, like when they're having sex in the car, he's like, oh god, that's so like, come on, man, that's not far out, that's bang out of order. Whereas here now, he's just kind of, he's no better than the rest of them in that respect.
No. And so after that,
oh god, here come the lads.
they drive to the bridge to dick about and be reckless.
They've got smokes in their nose. Their trousers are down by. They're running around like idiots. They're hanging off the suspension bridge. I hate this because that's exactly the type of thing where I'd be like, I'm telling so fucking hard right now.
You'd be out there like that going off to
They
tell.
do the thing which is exactly meant to punish people like me, which is, we're going to pretend we're all going to die now.
Yeah.
You were worried. Now you're more worried. Now we're dead. Joke's on you. We're alive, and we're going to remind you this every day.
You were concerned about our well-being.
Jeez, I thought you were dead. No, we're alive and worse.
They're all just fucking jerks. Annette's crying. It's just shit.
Yeah.
We go to White Castle, and my god, those burgers look shit. You thought they looked good? You thought it was a good burger?
You present your treaty, sir. I will reply in due course.
All right.
Mr. Speaker, the Right Honourable Gentleman from Nottingham has the floor.
I just thought they looked a bit grey and flat, and I've not had a White Castle burger. Certainly not in the 70s, so I don't know how they actually taste, and that's how you judge a burger. Look, forget it. The burgers just looked they look like the rest of the movie, and if I was from White Castle, I'd be a bit concerned in terms of the brand deal there that we'd been made.
Mr. Speaker, the gentleman has rightly pointed out that he has in fact never had a White Castle burger, so what in fact would his opinion on the matter mean in this regard at all? Mr. Speaker, I say to the House, there's 4 of them. Fuck off. 4 burgers? I'll give them to me. Give them to me.
Well, look, I'm not saying I wouldn't eat them, but I'm just saying I'm not sure about them. But Tony is sure about them, and he's gobbling them. He's gobbling these burgers down.
There's 4 of them. It's like, that's incredible.
And they're saying, you're like a dog because you're taking big gulps of this. You're like a dog eating kibble or doggy treats. You're like a dog, mate, eating so much hamburger. Stop eating so much burger, you dog. Woof, 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 woof.
If I'm eating, you better have some fucking great conversation. And it better not be about me or
You're
how
a dog.
or how I'm eating.
You're a goddamn burger dog.
Really tearing through it there. No, don't. Like, this is the moment I felt gratitude because even at the rowdiest, worst I think I could have ever possibly been, or anyone I knew in my life,
Yeah.
they would never stand up on the table and kick the burgers while going with fucking burger falling out of you. We were too hungry for that. You think I'm dropping pronto pizza out of my gob? No, I'm not.
Too much respect for the takeaways is what we've got.
Too much respect, Sam.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Little Bobby, again, later on, takes Tony to one side. It's like, look, hey, Tony, look, my girlfriend's pregnant. I'm really worried. I might have to marry her. It feels like you've got your stuff together, Tony. You know what you're doing, but I don't feel... everything feels out of control.
Did you see his little shoes and all?
Yeah.
Little clip-clop shoes.
And Tony's like, yeah, I'll call you.
Don't worry about nothing is like the refrain of it. Don't worry about nothing. It's all right, don't worry about nothing. I think have you ever been in that situation when you realise if someone thinks that you're the really steady-headed, good in a crisis situation or whatever it is?
Very rarely, but yes. And then you're like, oh no, you think I'm that. Yeah.
Me and Joe both had that over the last decade where we were like, we had to admit to each other that we're like, oh, I always viewed that you were the person who was that in the situation. Like, oh, really? Because I thought it was you. So, there's times in one's life when you have to choose your career or your passion. The passion is dancing and impressing a Manhattanite who may be telling Porky Pies about knowing I don't know, fucking Aerosmith 10 years before they exist.
Yeah.
So he's going to help her move.
Yes.
And to do that, he has to quit his job, along with the $4 raise.
Yes, he quits the job, but ultimately he's going to make that money back in dance competitions. But quits the job, helps her move. When he does help her move, she's got a friend round at the apartment. A friend, a mystery friend.
A degree of mystery here.
Yeah.
Who is Jay?
Yes.
What is his relationship with her? You don't really find out unless you take her word for it, which even by her own admission, like, she's not telling the full truth about this. And you realise as the movie goes on, most of that is not just to kind of like, oh, she's trying to hoodwink Tony or whatever. A lot of it is she's trying to kind of convince herself or live in a kind of a... What's it that the kids call it? Delulu?
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 Did they say that?
They do, I believe. Or is that the leggings?
Oh, Delulu Lemon.
But there's basically like...
Either way, it makes me want to shout. Put my hands up and shout.
Yeah, it's good, right? Yeah. It basically means that if you lie and live a deranged fantasy, that's good.
Oh, that's a vibe. That's in a way, yeah.
Or it could be leggings.
Or it could be leggings. But leggings are also a vibe. We have to remember that sometimes, on some days, leggings are the vibe, right?
Oh, I love the VBs. They're something now, yeah.
So we go from this bit where it's like, who's this fucking guy in your apartment? What's going on? To, come and sit with me by the bridge.
Shut up! Don't worry about nothing. All right.
Don't worry about nothing.
Don't worry about Jay, who's kissing me and offering me wine.
And is like loads older than us, and we're 20, and he looks like 40 or something.
Sam, I'm beginning to think that Detective Tony hasn't got all the clues on the board to maybe gather everyone into the drawing room and present his conclusions on who Jay is.
No, ultimately he just wants to sit by the bridge, look at the bridge, and spit out some facts about the bridge. He's got a little special interest. He likes the bridge. He's got loads of bridge info.
I love civil engineer. What can I say? You know? All sorts of people died up here. Oh, jabronis. They fall off. They die in the concrete. It's funny. It's funny. And she's like, well, why do you come here? He's like, I don't know. I come here to think. And think about... don't think about nothing. Don't worry about it.
Don't think about nothing. Don't worry about nothing. So, the boys, the bad, rambunctious, silly boys, they now decide to take revenge.
Yeah, the side quest is still active, so they're joining in the raid.
Tony's been walking around doing missions for, like, Stephanie and stuff.
Look, it's Yakuza 5 all over again. He just prefers the dancing minigame. Yes. It's the best bit.
But as far as these guys are concerned, this is like the next thing. This is their big mission. They're going to crash into the Barracuda gang hideout.
And, Sam, that's a figurative chat you're giving me there now.
Yeah?
They mean it literally now.
Yes.
They drive a car into it.
Yes. They are literally crashing into it.
Do you think, because it's a clubhouse, it feels like you could crash a car into that? But, like, you're not going to crash a car into, like, an end terrace house. Clubhouse kind of feels like it's been kind of put up, like you could knock it down easily.
Yeah.
I feel I could run through a clubhouse like the Juggernaut,
I feel like this with all American buildings, though. Aren't they all made of, like, fiberglass or something? They're all just like, You want
to get up and pull it down, don't you?
Yeah. A British house, you're not, you're having no luck. But an American
you can't
house,
because you try and grip onto it, it gets all slippery with black mold. Oh, I can't get my hands on this British house.
And that's a feature. So...
A feature for the mold.
We're actually charging more.
Their well-being.
But we get a kind of... Again, it does seem transplanted from the Warriors, this kind of fight scene, this fight choreography. Tony, and it's,
little Bobby tries to drive off while someone's hanging on. There's knives taken out. And Tony gets jumped by, I believe, is like a woman in there who jumps him and just starts beating the shit out of him. Who then just gets picked up and summarily sopped in the face. It's a nasty bit of business, this.
It's a nasty bit of business. He's roughed up. They're all roughed up. They go and visit the lad who got beaten up by this gang, and he's like, "Oh, hey guys, it's nice to see you. Yeah, I'm not sure it's the Barracudas who did this to me. It could have been anyone." And they're like, "What?"
Did you guys accidentally beat a confession out of your own best friends and got them to like finger a gang that didn't actually do anything? I loved as well earlier on when like they first break the news that, you know, their friend got jumped by this gang possibly.
Yeah.
Like the way they framed it as being so tragic, it's like, and his groceries fell there right in the street. They were all, oh my God. Like, so you got to name a gang at that point, you know, to get the honor of your groceries back. I'm not besmirching the honor of the big shop.
They're now potentially in trouble with a gang that maybe they shouldn't have even started a whole thing with. That's kind of bubbling under in the background.
We got the best threat in the world from John Travolta's character here as a result. I feel like breaking your broken leg. And he's all like banged up as well. That's the thing, right? All the iconic images of him in the suit for the dance contest, you know, the white flared suit with the big lapels and all that. Like, anytime he's wearing that in the movie, it's after the fight. So he's all cut up, he's got stitches, he's got a black eye. So, like, anytime you see, like, I thought it's a very striking image of, like, the disco guy and he's all fucking beat up to fuck, but he's still throwing shapes.
Yeah.
But here now you got the dance. Look at, you know, you're going on the DVD cover. I can't have you look like a fucking show. You know?
Well, but then people like me would realise, oh, this film's got some dirt to it and it's kind of gross and sad. Yeah, but I just thought, here come them trousers. Here we go. It's happening. And look, them trousers do be coming.
It's a look, Sam. It's a fine look indeed.
It's a good look. It's time for the competition. And once again, inarguably, I would say. If you want to argue it, come at me. But I would say, inarguably, the dance scenes are just nice and good.
They're very nice. Very nice and good. Very good. Beautiful shots. The colours of everything. It's very, I don't know. It's bordering on trippy or whatever it is. But I think what I like most about it is that it has the atmosphere of one of those stand-up shows where you have to bring friends to fill out the audience.
Yes.
And you don't get on the bill unless, if you don't bring 6, you're not allowed on the bill. And of course then, if it's a contest like these things invariably are, you then have like 3/4 of the audience booing any one act at any given time when their friend is sitting up on stage. Yeah. So you have all this great dancing going on, and everyone's like, boo! Boo! And this is where a little bit of the racism that is into the groundwater of day-to-day life here comes out, because there's a Puerto Rican couple who are on second, and they're fucking dynamite. They are energized, they are lighting it up on the dance floor, they're on fire. And, like, straight away, Travolta is like, oh,
they're better than us.
Oh, they're better than us. Yeah. I don't know what I'm doing no more. And then they have their dance number, which, as we said, is very beautiful and amazing to look at. And afterwards, they win. And he's not happy because he knows they weren't the best.
Yeah.
And he knows that the reason why they won is because they're the Italians and they like to keep it in the family. And, hey, nice for coming all that, but you're not going to win the dance contest, Puerto Rican guys. Let's leave that for another day type of thing.
So he does recognise that and sees that and tries to kind of correct that. He gives them the trophy and the prize and everything.
I hate when structural racism points out my own shortcomings and lack of self-belief in myself. It's the worst thing about racism when you think about it. When the person it generally benefits realises it makes them feel a bit,
so he has
that one proper.
Sort of done something good-ish. But
I will say he has the glummest look in the world for a man who's won a disco.
Yes.
Like, you know, sad disco champion isn't usually a collection of 3 words that appear together.
No, not typically.
The happy disco champion, isn't it?
Yes. That's what the emoji is called on the phones.
Happy disco.
You don't have a sad version of that.
I'm waiting for pregnant disco band to appear in my emoji list. That's what I want more than anything, you know?
He does go from winning this thing, realising that the decision was racially motivated, trying to correct that, to then forcing himself upon Stephanie afterwards.
Yeah, and this was the point in the movie where I was like, I don't know what Sam's on about. I must be watching the PG version. And then I looked at the runtime, I'm like, no, that is not the PG version. No. And I looked at the rate and I go, that is 18s. And I was like, well, maybe just a few slurs slipped through the cracks and we're all, oh no, it's a full on, like, I'm not enjoying this, and he's arguing with her, and then he kisses her, and then immediately starts berating her about being a cock teaser, and then she gives him the fucking business to tell him that he's a fucking idiot and that she just used him, and and that, you know what? If that was it, you go, well, that's a very unpleasant final thing to happen in the movie.
Yes.
Are you ready for a gang scene?
Scene of that nature?
Annette comes in from earlier, and like it's so sad. There's a part where I've missed this so many times when I watched it. Like literally the second they're about to start their disco number, Annette takes drugs for the first time. She's like, wow, speed, yum. And so it's like you're seeing like all of them on this path then basically of like where they're at. And she starts off with one of the guys in the gang being like, hey, this is fun. And then before you know it, it's not fun. And then everyone's involved.
Yeah.
And I think what's probably most uncomfortable about it is that no one seems to really... it's like, oh, it's a bad night. And they're driving around with glum faces while there's that happening.
This is the thing. It's like Tony, as a character, sits there with a bit of a Mardy look on his face, looking just sad about this.
But he feels like he's more pissed off about being told off about, you know, making his own fucking advance or whatever it is. So it's like...
He's sort of annoyed that this is all happening to him, and it's a bit, you know, how have things got like this, rather than maybe I should help this woman in this horrible fucking situation.
The point had already been making that it's like, oh, it's a bad scene, kid, and you got to get out of there. And I think... you get like triple sledgehammer shots then here because, you know, we'll go back to the bridge then for more tomfoolery, and this time Bobby is going a little bit overboard, and before you know it, he falls off that suspension bridge like the silly Goombas they talked about earlier, and he's dead, and that's that, like, and it's like, it's such a bummer. It's like fucking Romeo and Juliet ending levels of just tragic and bad and not nice.
Yeah.
I'm shocked that more of that hasn't permeated into the general, like, oh, Saturday Night Fever, it's a dance movie, but there's a dark side. You know, that's never brought up in its context.
No.
It's like me texting you on Saturday night saying Saturday Night Fever. Retrospectively become the worst text message I've ever sent you, I think.
Sad movie. Why'd you make me watch this?
Well, I wanted to prove...
You're the tosser. Oh, I guess we're going. I can't get this microphone off.
I'm sorry.
Don't do it over there.
I don't do impersonations, so... Well, you'll always be Les Tossers to me. Tony walks around again from another movie. He pops into the opening of The Warriors, just rides the rails over and over, arrives back at Stephanie's house where they both apologize and kind of tentatively plan to move forward together in the big city, in Manhattan, as friends. The idea being, hey, kid, you got out of the bad situation and he's like, I'm never gonna hang out with those guys ever again. And it's like, great, all is forgiven. And the future's looking bright for Tony. It's a bummer of an ending, man.
It is.
I think one of the things you could have taken out would have been like, that's sufficient to give me the exclamation point, but you gave me 3.
So
Grammarly will have words.
There's maybe this thing of like, oh, this is about the kind of hopelessness of youth at that time.
The listlessness.
And, you know, finding some meaning in something like disco and dance, but that ultimately you're still trapped in this horrible cycle. And that's all well and good. And, you know, we could argue about whether the movie tells that story well or not. And there is that thing of like, you know, movies can be good and say sad things.
Yes.
But
the 1-2 punch of the unexpectedness and then the severity, perhaps.
And it's really severe. Like, at the end, they're like, here's your big ending. She's having that happen to her. He's dead. And he just gets to kind of apologize for what he did, and it's fine. But just it probably isn't
cast
fine.
Your mind as well back to the situation where I was watching this.
Yeah.
Where instead of it freeze framing on them winning a disco contest...
Is that the ending in the like PG?
I think it might even be. But instead it's like... Because, you know, the class was... and you're gonna probably be very jealous of me when I tell you that it was a class called Music Appreciation, right?
Ooh.
And this was during, I think I talked to you before about transition year, where between or equivalent of GCSEs and or equivalent of A levels, some schools offer a year where you can pursue various, like, you know, non-exact, like we did like media studies and we did a mock trial and we did a play, and you know, depending on what you do or what you're willing to do or what your school provides, you could do lots. But we had a situation where a lot of the teachers got to pitch classes they could teach us. So we had like entrepreneur skills with one of our business studies teachers.
Yes.
And like we did loads of puzzles and stuff in maths that year. But the music teacher was like, I want to teach these kids about music appreciation. And he wanted to show us a lot of movies and a lot of important albums.
Yes.
We watched like Quadrophenia, and he's like, and that's what the Mods and Rockers was all about. And then he showed us this to explain disco. And the idea at the end of this movie where it's like these two broken young people who've just been through hell and back and caused untold damage to one another, shaking at the recent death of their friend and the horrible sexual assault aplenty we've just seen, turning to us and going, and that's what disco was about.
And that's disco, guys.
That's
off you
disco,
go.
guys. It's grubby business. It's grubby business.
Yeah, and look, I'm sure disco was grubby business.
I will say as well, you watch that movie in 40-minute installments, that's like 4 lessons minimum. You had so many lessons to catch it.
Yeah.
You had to know when the slurs were flowing like wine in the first fucking bit, that there's going to be a bad bit of business at the end.
Yeah, I feel weird about this movie.
So I want you to know, I empathize with your feeling of weirdness.
Yes.
Because I clearly had blotted it out, because when we sat down I was like, wee yay. And it was only that text immediately. I was like 15 years old, sat in there going, I hope one of the priests doesn't walk by anytime soon.
Yeah.
This will be the BBC adaptation of Romeo and Juliet all over again.
And look, there are bright spots in this. I'm not saying it's all. And
but it's about your enjoyment. I think we've established the movie has things to say, but that doesn't matter if it.
But I didn't enjoy that. I just didn't, in this case, enjoy that as a thing, or appreciate that as a thing.
Had you had your dinner when you'd seen it?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And Stanley didn't get his dander up at any of it now. He didn't care for the disco. He was all right.
He was even all right with the bit where the lads were eating burgers and doing dog impressions and going, eat your burger, and he loves burgers, so, you know.
I thought he'd condemn, but his silence speaks volumes.
Interesting. Well, no, he did sit there with a kind of sad look on his face, and I think that's as good as condemning something, actually. If you just sort of sit in the car that it's happening in and look sad, that makes your character okay.
When the shock wears off, would you watch it again?
I would like to watch the sequences with the nice dancing in again. Do me a 20-minute edit where it's just that, and I'd watch that.
You need to play the Yakuza games, my friend. That's what you need.
That's all that.
That's what you need.
I don't know if I'd be in a rush to watch this again, necessarily, but I can't stress enough how much, and my initial gut reaction reflected this, the dancing stuff, the actual bits where, and even the, you know, sequence at the start where he's walking down the street and shoving pizza in his gob, that's all good stuff.
Oh,
and
it's iconic for a reason,
And that stuff does sell disco to you, and the music is fucking great. Like, I might go and listen to some Bee Gees now, who I've never really sought out as a thing to listen to. Like, I'm aware of them and you hear
Damon
the stuff.
Albarn.
So I might listen to this film, but I'm not in a rush to watch it again, necessarily.
Yeah, I understand. It's going to be a complicated getting to the star wipe rating now, I feel.
Yeah, and this
because I feel, even though we've had our chat, I don't think, I've been very conscious not to, I don't think I've like made you like the movie more by us talking about it. I don't feel like you might understand some of the context, but I felt like you knew that anyway. It was just the shock of initially seeing it was still kind of palpable.
Kevin, it seems almost a shame to say this. I've appreciated having a space to talk about this movie, but that's not like we've been two lads having a laugh about the movie, which is normally what happens. It's like, oh yeah, I needed to kind of digest that and sort of.
I feel there'll be a lot of people who will listen to this and will be similarly like, oh yeah. It's like, you know, because I will say it's not a movie that I've heard many people tell me who are like, oh, it's my favorite movie. You know, it's not, you know.
No.
But I think, you know, a lot of people have memories of it, but I wouldn't think the memories they would have. I mean, I would think I could ask you in 3 to 4 months' time, and you would probably, hopefully, have gotten rid of some of the memories of the bad bits.
I don't want to seem like I'm maybe being oversensitive or doing the thing of like, you know, people of our generation looking back at old stuff and be like, oh, you can't. But like, it's just a bit much.
It's like I empathize with everyone involved on that. On all those Reddit threads where people are like, "Why did Dad put this on?" It's like I don't think anyone ever, when they're trying to put something on like this, is like it's time for the kids to learn about the dark side of disco.
No.
You know, and how freely slurs were used in 1970s Brooklyn, and you know, I feel like you don't disregard anyone's feelings on it. Like people would watch this and kind of go, this is dark-sided and it's like unpleasant, and I don't think there's enough for some people. There's not maybe enough there to kind of compensate for that.
Yes,
and there's people who just don't want to see that in their media for whatever reason, and that's like totally fine as well. Like, you know, like the thing is always makes me laugh is the people who are so against trigger warnings are also the people then who complain about having to have discourse about the things that people who may have been warned off wouldn't engage with then in the first place.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, like, do you want us to have an argument about it, or do you want those people to not engage with it? Because I would say this is one of those movies where if you clicked on it on, you know, your Sky TV or whatever, you might necessarily be aware of some of the content that would be in, because it's a bit more than some cheeky chappies from the Isle of Man and a lad with funny trousers.
You'd think, here come the funny trousers, and it's not quite that. I'm hoping that the next film we do on Cinema Swirl is going to be a real.
I feel you've earned something nice now.
I need a
bad.
treat.
I'm like,
I need a treat.
No, Sam. No, don't worry. We won't do David Lynch. We'll do something nice.
We'll come up with something. Okay, right. I think I know where I'm going with this one, and it might change over time, and it might be one of those ones where I'm like, but Saturday Night Fever, I'm going to give that 2 star wipes.
You heard it here.